Okay, now we're live. So, welcome for anyone that's watching us right now. Welcome to our live about hyperautomation. I'm Lohan Caproni. I'm here as a host today. I'm co-founder CEO of Bot City, a Python RPA platform, and I'm here with two nice guests, Dragan Meticos and Roberto Armon from Simplify and from Grupo Visel. So please feel free to present. Dragan, if you want to go first, you can present yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Lahan. Yeah, I'm Dragan Meticos, and I am the lead RPA analyst and partnership manager at Simplify for a bit over, I think, 3 years. So yeah, happy to be here and share some of my insights about hyperautomation.
That's amazing. Welcome, Dragan. And Roberto, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Roberto Armon. I'm manager at Grupo Viseu. I'm responsible for country manager at Portugal and also expanding in partnership around the globe. So thank you again, guys. Thank you, Dragan. Thank you, Lohan. Let's share together some insights here for you guys.
Okay, amazing. So for everyone that is watching us, the goal here is we're going to talk about ourselves, on the experience that we had on the hyperautomation cycle from strategy discovery, planning, implementing, and software selection as well. So the goal here is to share some learnings from each side of this part of the process. And then after that, you can feel free to send us questions because at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. So to start here, I would invite Dragan, so you can start presenting. I think you have some nice information to share with us. So please feel free. The stage is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Lahan. So I will just open the presentation and please let me know when you see it.
Yes, you can see. You can go.
Can you see the screen? Great. So before, let's say, I start, I would just briefly like to say something about Simplify, the company where I work in. So what we do is we help companies to fast forward to the future. So companies can achieve their goals on their own, but the main question what comes is when, right? Because of rapid changes in the market and appearance of new technologies, it's really imperative that you can adapt quickly and deliver quickly. And because of a large number of systems, of people, of processes and problems that companies face, and a lot of projects that they initiate, sometimes they tend to overcomplicate, solutions towards certain processes and problems that they want to solve. So we're helping them to simplify that and to find this clear path to get to the future state that they want to be. And regarding hyperautomation, I will tell you a bit more about some effective strategies when it comes down to introducing hyperautomation in your organizations, and what is our approach on finding the right processes for automation. And before we start, I would just briefly explain what is hyperautomation to maybe some of the participants that are not too familiar with it. I here have the Gartner's definition, but to simply put it, it is a combination of RPA, or robotic process automation, and then other technologies such as AI, machine learning, and other software tools that enable companies to automate and orchestrate their business processes. And what you can achieve with hyperautomation is increased efficiency and cost reduction of your business processes, because they will be performed quicker and without errors. You would increase satisfaction of your customers because they would receive their products or services quicker and with the same level of quality. And you also have an increase of your employee satisfaction because you're enabling your employees to work on more complex and creative tasks, and they're not doing these boring, manual, repetitive jobs. And you also improve decision making, especially important for managers. You're enabling them to have all the relevant data that they need and to actually see where are the areas where they need to take action and make some decisions. So for effective strategies in hyperautomation, I here put these three, let's say, main pillars or parts to it. But before any business transformation, so digital transformation, hyperautomation, whatever it is, business processes are the first step. It's kind of like building the house. If your foundation is not good, no matter what you put afterwards, how pretty it is, expensive it is, how good it is, it will eventually collapse. So business processes, represent this foundation. And we usually hear from companies like that. Sometimes they want to rush a bit, or just want to start with something, automate one process or 2-3 processes, just to see, how the technology works, what are the benefits, try to achieve some savings. And that is good, but it's also important to include this strategic approach, because if they start building on that, they will run into many problems, which we will talk about today, and they won't be able to receive all the benefits that come from automation. So the first step is actually to focus on the processes and check the maturity of your processes. And then for some, you will actually see that they need standardization. They need to be first structured and documented properly in order to move to the next step. Then you have optimization or digitization, meaning that you want to also eliminate any wastes or inefficiencies in your process to streamline it, and also make sure that the process steps, or at least majority of them, are digitized, or they're within your internal IT systems, and they're not being done through, let's say, some paperwork or phone calls and so on. And then actually the last step is then automation. So when you have a good, mature, stable process, then automation comes to play. And with that approach, you then can easily scale without worrying about any problems. The second part is something that I think is equally important, which is people. So keeping people involved in the entire process. The people who actually perform these daily processes within organizations are the best one to tell you which process could be automated, and give you all the relevant information about it. But so that is why it is important to upskill your employees, to provide them with the skills, about how the technology works, what is the best way to use it in their daily work, and how automation projects work. And also, ideally, companies should create and form these special teams for continuous improvement or process automation, like a center of excellence that would continue to drive these automation initiatives, and keep the employees motivated and skilled for your automation projects. And then the third one, innovation, exploring innovation. Again, having a more strategic approach is important, because now really often on, like, through LinkedIn, see like these new tools that are coming up that say that they can solve everything with one click, one prompt, everything, right? But it's not always the case. It's important also to do the proper research and see whether some tool makes sense, for the company and the stage where the company is at, and then align that solution with everything else within the company, in order to, again, have the possibility to scale and have successful transformation. When it comes to process discovery and prioritization, again, I will again repeat and emphasize process before technology. This is like a high level methodology or approach that we use in analysis. So we deep dive into processes through shadowing sessions, where we see how the processes are performed. We talk with business owners and managers to get relevant information about the process, and we prepare these detailed process maps and documentation with the analysis, with some, let's say, final conclusion for the next step, which would be to standardize, optimize, or automate that process. And how we prioritize them. So to see whether it is a high, medium, or low priority process for automation, I listed some of the key criteria for that prioritization. So the process metrics, or the number of FTEs that we can save with automation, helps us to have a valid business case to automate certain process. Process complexity, such as number of applications that are used in the process, or number of variations and exceptions that we have. Then the process impact. So, for example, if you make a mistake in the process, we want to know if you need to pay certain penalties for that, or you can, let's say, jeopardize your reputation towards the customer. That process would then have a high impact on the company. And the process stability. So are we planning to change some processes, in the near future, like within 3 months? If that's the case, then there is no point to try to automate that process, at least at that moment. And then for the end, I just wanted to give you, maybe for an easier visual representation and understanding what can come out of our analysis and discovery phase. So this one would be an example for standardization. Like here is some deliverables that we would prepare, such as procedure or this detailed description of the process, also detailed process map, some risk analysis, also the RACI matrix to show who is responsible and accountable, let's say, for each key part or milestone in the process, and also some important information and KPIs. Here you can see detailed process maps, or click by click, as we call them, process maps, where we show each process step. And we also show automation potential within, meaning that we can show, okay, for this activity, this one can be automated. This one requires maybe some restructuring in order to be automated. And then the third type can be just an activity that needs to remain on a person to do, maybe some decision-making, some analysis, and so on. Then also we have the conclusion or some overall results of our analysis, some key information about the process, and then we would give, let's say, our conclusion whether the process should be automated or not, and what would be the next steps. And here is as I said, it's also important to have a valid business case in order to invest towards implementation to automate some processes. So we would provide a business case. Usually we provide it for a 4-year period, because we see in practice that is usually the period where the break-even point happens. And we would also provide this. So when it comes to implementation, I would actually let my colleague Roberto to talk about that part and share his feedbacks on that. So I'm giving the mic to Roberto now.
Okay. Thanks, Dragan. That was really insightful. I think it's some learnings about first process, first people, and then technology, right? So I think that's the core of our discussion. So one quick question before, if you can share with us one of the biggest learnings that you had during this journey, what can you share with us?
Yeah, so from my part, like I said, like I mentioned here, is that sometimes it's difficult for companies to see like why they shouldn't start immediately with some technologies, but when you actually take the time to strategically set up the whole thing, it actually helps you to be faster in the long run. So for me, that was one of the bigger learnings, because when I started as an analyst, my focus was to just find the process that is good for automation, right? So I was also trapped, let's say, in that loop, but I actually saw that if you take a step back and have an overall picture of do you want to actually improve your organization and all of the processes, then you need to definitely first work on that, upskill the people, as we also said, and then go for technology, because that is the, let's say, best approach to achieve benefits.
That's correct, absolutely, because you can invest more time before, and then you won't regret later. I totally agree with you. Okay, Dragan, thanks for your presentation. That we can get back after Roberto and then talk a little bit more of some cases. Sure. So I'm talking to, I call Roberto from the stage. So hey, Roberto, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, everything okay. Thank you, Dragan, for the great presentation. It was a really good examples and good theory, and a good experience as well as the lessons learned at the end. So yeah, I'm gonna do the same as Dragan. I'm gonna talk about a little bit about Grupo Viseu, and then I'm gonna continue from the implementation side. I'm gonna probably get some of the insights that Dragons told us, probably repeat some of them, and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay,
Let me
Roberto,
just share
the stage is yours.
my presentation. Everything okay? Can you see?
Yes, now we can. It's loading. It's still
Yeah.
loading. Just a second.
Still loading. Let's wait a couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's not appearing. Let me check here.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
Yes. Now we can see.
And I'm on presentation mode now. Okay. So, just talking about a little bit about Grupo Viseu. We are a service provider company, and we try to help our customers using the most recent and innovative technologies available at the market. We have a global operation, and we have offices in Portugal, Brazil, and Chile. Okay, just describing a little bit about our business. Besides, of course, our core business, which is hyperautomation, where we can, help from discovery to scale. Regardless of the technology, regardless of the skills, regardless of the platform, we can provide the help that clients need. We also have a couple of the services that we provide. We have 3 products at the market right now with our in operation within our clients, and we also have a venture builder, a business where we turn ideas and joint efforts in a technology operation side and bring those ideas into businesses, into models, into ventures to help our clients. Okay, so if you wanna find more about what we do, please go to our website grupovisio.com.br or contact me on LinkedIn or just text me, and I'll be really good to have a chat. So now I'm just taking from where Dragon was talking about from discovery to strategy. So he explained about the objective.
Hey, Roberto,
yes.
just a second. We only can see the first slide. We're not seeing the other ones. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, just I'll stop and share again because probably it was a freeze, kind of freeze. I don't know. Let me check. Stop screen. Then I will present. Share screen. And I will entire screen probably. Entire screen share. No, I can do that.
Yeah, you can share the screen entirely, not just the slide. Yes.
Yeah. How about now?
We do see the open, but give play. When you give play, it's not appearing for us. Maybe you should
really
make the transition manually.
Okay, that's all right. So let me just then hide. Okay, let me just hide this slide only, and then we go from here. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good.
I can see.
All right, so I talked about Grupo Viseu and all our services, and now I'm just going back to where Dragon was saying about the strategy, the processes, prioritizations, and all the expected results. So once we go through the implementation side, usually there is an indication of what is necessary to automate the processes using the hybrid automation. Now, on the phase, the planning phase is the most important one, of course, and that will tell you what are those technologies you are going to use. Because before there was just an indication. Okay, I need to read an image. I need to use a bot to run through a web portal. I need to execute some sort of calculation in an Excel file or access in my ERP and that and so on. So once you go to the planning phase, you will have the indication of what are those technologies that you're going to use. And once you select those ones, you need to understand, okay, what's your timeline and if you have the necessary skills to implement those technologies, right? So a couple of things that you need to consider: budget and team skills, because you can try to use one of technology that is not on your budget, or you're trying to use a technology that you don't have the skills inside your house to implement those. So you need to go to the market to find them. So all of these characteristics you need to understand in the planning phase, so you don't derail your automation, right? So other ones: security policies, technology knowledge, compliance. It's really important for you to manage your contract, because you need all the necessary licenses for all the technologies that you're using. You know, the buy-in from all the stakeholders, especially the business key users, the ones that are experts on the process that you are implementing. Once you have all these characteristics in place, studied and put it on the paper, you know, you have your implementation roadmap, and now you're ready to deliver. Okay, now from the delivery side, it's really interesting for you to adopt a methodology, you know, for a methodology for developing and a methodology to manage the processes, the project. So it's nice to have a tool to support that. It's really also important to have an all access provider. Now, a lot of people that are watching us now maybe went through some of those things, like, okay, the team is allocated, everyone is in place, but we don't have the necessary access. So, you know, it's 1, 2, 3 days for you to waiting for that. So really important. The other thing that you need to consider nowadays is also hybrid teams. So during the delivery, you will have remote people working on your team. You have local people, so manage those. It's also really important. You also have employees, you have third parties workers, so manage all of this is also really important. Also, you know, programming methodologies, governance. I think Lohan is going to tell us a little bit about that also at the end. And also documentation. I mean, it's really important to document, you know, for lessons learned, and because, you know, it's really common to have, you know, turnovers and people leaving the company and new people arriving. So having those everything documented is really essential, so you don't lose track of what was implemented, right? Now, once you go to the support phase, you know, this is a part that I would also like to give the special attention, because, you know, companies tend to don't invest the necessary efforts and budgets to the support phase. That doesn't mean people like, you know, developers or analysts, you know, monitoring and watching your automation running. It means that, you know, try to use your automation for that part as well. You know, get your audit logs, get dashboards, try to visualize and monitor the performance of your implementation. That's really important, because then you can visualize everything that's happening. Okay, and once all of that is in place, it's time for you to scale. So, you know, most of those technologies are run on cloud-based infrastructures. They are, you know, SaaS. They are software as a services. They can be accessed by internet. You know, so you can take advantage of all that, you know, cloud and online structure to scale your operation. You know, and of course, knowledge transfer. I mean, it's really important. Use e-learnings, use all the methods that you can to, you know, get your process and automations to the other branches, to the other departments, and try to reutilize some of these automations as well. Okay. Now, I'm just bringing here two cases. One of the third largest health plan operating in Brazil. So different cases here, so you understand. This client of ours have more than 500 units around Brazil. They had like a complete mess of managing the water, the utilities bills, so the water, energy, gas, taxes, etc. Now, we orchestrated a technology using Python RPA with OCR, you know, and then outputting that to a web portal and you know, with the data to a Power BI dashboard, so they could manage all of that information. Now, one of the risks, so you can imagine the gravity of these situations, was their clinics and hospital were having the risk to close or to run out of energy because they were delaying their bills. So I mean that was acceptable. So we developed this hyperautomation so they could finally manage that, prevent frauds, prevent this kind of situation, and that is operation now. Now the other case that I wanted to bring to you guys is like one of the largest fashion e-commerce in Latin America. So this goes straight with what was Dragon was talking about strategy and going with strategy, growth, cost reduction, scalability, calculating your return on investment, setting the right prioritization. That was the case here. Now, once we went there and implemented, there was like just for 4 processes, we had more than 30,000 hours of savings, and they're reaching out to around 2 million euros of projected savings, right? And again, some of the technology that we orchestrated was integration, the RPA that was responding according to how the operation was executed in SAP, and then we were exchanging that with Python scheduled boards in parallel. So a lot of different technologies running and orchestrated. Okay, so now just talking a little bit about key implementation challenge. There is a lot of factors that can impact or that can impact for good and can derail your automation. We talked about and Dragon was talking about the prioritizations and calculating your ROI and all of that. But once you go to implementation, your ecosystem can be one of the things that can impact your implementation. So what is your infrastructure like? Is it ready to use? What kind of standard for programming language you can use and influence that? And another good one is database. So we had one of our clients that was ready to implement implementation. There was good ROI, there was a good prioritization, but once we went to implement, the database was a mess. And the results of that was we couldn't achieve what was expected for that automation. So it's really important to pay attention to that. Now, one of the other things that it's really a challenge is customer experience, because sometimes, like if you are automating an IT process, they have kind of the understanding that everything is running on the background. The automations are connected, and you see kind of the results because you get emails and everything. But if you are in a business with business users and business areas, sometimes that is not perceptible. Okay, so it's really nice for you to sell your automation, sell your ideas using dashboards, using notifications, using emails, so they can see that automation, the Hyper automation, is really helping them on the daily basis. And the other one, the last one that I want to mention, is the documentation and knowledge. So oftentimes you see, the most skilled and expert developers on our team or on the client's team building the most sophisticated solution using the Hyper automation and everything. But once you go to implement that and you go to the support phase, you won't have the people to manage that, to continue with that automation. So sometimes it's better to go to a more suitable programming language, a more suitable technology, so you can understand that the full process of implementation will be a success and not just a miracle, innovative solution. So try to be sustainable. That's kind of the message. And one of the things that I would like to give the importance as well is the center of excellence. They are really important for you to give the standards to your automation ecosystem. So they will be important to have the methodologies in places, all the implementation tasks, all the documentations, the prioritization team demands. So you will have the automation cycle there. And from this COE, it's much easier for you to scale all of your automations as well. And you will have the support in place. So the COE will have the dashboards, visualizing and monitoring all the automations that are happening. That's really nice as well. And and also adopting the right methodology. So that's the basic standard automation methodology that we use. So I mean, there is no rule, but just try to find the most suitable one for your hyperautomation journey. Adopt that one and just follow it. You know, because we often see from our staff that they come from other houses where they weren't using the right methodology. So, you know, all the bots were a mess. There were no standard, no programming. The folders managing was just chaos. So it's really important for you to follow that as well. Yeah. So I mean, those were a couple of ideas and discussions that we had about implementation. And I really hope you guys enjoyed. And I think my friend Laurent is already here. Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Roberto. I think it was super insightful, and you already shared the lessons. I think the lessons about documentation, about the importance of a COE, and the challenge about implementation. So it's always about preparation and make things right. So that's great. So thanks, Roberto. I think the goal for anyone who's watching us, the goal of this live is to show each steps of discovery, implementation, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about software selection. So the way is going to give you, like, in some minutes you can see all the steps necessarily with some lessons that we learned during this time. So thanks, Roberto. I'll talk a little bit about software selection, and then all of you come back here so we can discuss a little bit more, okay?
Okay, great.
Good. So I'm sharing my screen now. I'm talking a little bit about software selection during the hyperautomation implementation process. So I'm sharing here my screen. So I think Dragon will need to be live to tell me if you can see, but I can check on my side as well. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit about software selection. So if it's your first time here with us with Bot City, so Bot City is a Python RPA platform. So RPA platform that you can build and orchestrate Python automations, and made for tech teams, is trusted by more than 1,000 teams in over 60 countries with customers like LG, Andrade Gutierrez, EY, and other companies. So let me talk a little bit. Keep going on the definition of hyperautomation that you talk about the Gartner. This was adapted from Gartner. It's about everything that can be automated will be automated, right? So there was an evolution from task automation to process automation. When you talk about evolving then to automation across business units in different functions. So we talk more about orchestration, and then we evolve to hyperautomation. When you talk about really transformational way on creating the better ways for digital transformation, improving business outcomes, and make the scope of automations more broad. So hyperautomations, when you talk about the spectrum of tools and technologies, we see some different enabled technologies as RPA, intelligent document processing, process orchestration, process mining, AI, generative AI, ML, machine learning, and integration platforms such as IPAS and APIs. And then when we look to this landscape of technologies, we have one thing in common, that Python is the ultimate automation enabler. Let's one quick number that we always like to tell is like we have right now Python is the language that's with the biggest growth, and then 40 million people are programming in Python. So it's really getting bigger and bigger in terms of adoption. And it's opening these frontiers to different projects when regarding hyperautomation. And then when you start talking to companies about, okay, but when I talk about RPA and process about automation, there was this question about, should I go for low code or for Python? So this happens a lot, and companies have sometimes teams working in Python, some teams working with low code platforms such as UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blueprint, Power Automate. So That was this, how can I select the correct tool? Should I go full for Python or full for local? So some criteria, and was something that we learned talking to customers, some criteria that should be seen before choosing which way to go is like about use cases first. So what do you want? Do you want to empower business users? Do you want to give more performance for automations? Do you want to go for more critical automations on your organization, enterprise-wide automations, or you want like to automations on user level and department level? The other thing to get it to think about, it's about performance and technology locking. So Python automations can have better performance, and if you want to work with proprietary technology, so you build automations in a proprietary technology or in open technology that you don't have a necessary lock-in, and you are free to move between different technologies. And when you talk about the learning curve and talent availability, so if you need to replace someone that left your company who was taking care of this hyper automation operation, is it easy? Is the learning curve is fast? There's a good talent availability on that. So things to keep in mind when you get to this kind of selection. And then, do you have enterprise level governance? That's a really important topic, because in the past there was some kind of a speech that there's no governance for Python automations. This is not true anymore. There's technology for that, for advanced orchestration for Python automations as well. So when you talk about selecting, that's the good news, is like you don't need to choose. The companies worldwide are adopting a multi-vendor architecture. And this is not something exclusively for RPA or for hyperautomation. This happens with cloud platforms, security platforms, and different technologies, because we have this. Sometimes some companies dominate the field, and then the field gets more maturity, more companies, so companies start relying on multi-vendors. So there's some advantage to this approach. First, you start not being dependent of a single vendor. This is clever, some smart move, because you can have better leverage on negotiations, and you're not with a single technology in the house. The second is, if you work with a multi-vendor architecture, I mean a low-code platform and a Python RPA platform, you can empower both business users and developers, and you are really unlocking the power to make this happen. The third is, you can save big money on licensing model, as Python RPA platforms have a different licensing model, much more affordable, so you can balancing better your contracts. So you can have less licensing low-code platforms and put Python platforms to orchestrate, and then you can have a big save of money, and you can have the better lean operation. When you talk about adopting a Python RPA joined with a low-code platform, you are open possibilities for scale. With Python RPA platforms, such as Bot City, you don't need to be worried about the skyrocket of the costs with licensing, so have more possibilities for scale. And then one thing that's really important. So sometimes companies, teams, they don't have Python skills. Sometimes they have. Upskilling the team in Python is not just for hyperautomation, for RPA. It's open space from different projects, such as AI, when we talk about machine learning, as I spoke before, in the field of hyperautomation, generative AI, and data science projects. So it's really important to see that now we're getting to a time that's really possible to have a multi-vendor architecture like this. So this is like a suggestion when we have some customers combining low-code platforms with Bot City Python RPA platform. So we have when you talk about users, we have two different target users: business users and developers. So low-code platforms to empower business users, and Bot City Python RPA for developers. When we get to automation scope, more on user or department level, simple automations built by business users, and in Python, enterprise-wide automations, critical processes. Imagine that you have a process that's running like during the night, and it can't stop. It's really critical. If something breaks at 2 a.m., you need to have full control of this automation. The best way to have full control for automation is to really understand what's behind this automation. That's why Python is super powerful, because it's Python. You are looking to the automation. You can see, you can find a way to fix by yourself. And then it gets to the performance. Most of the cases that we have Python RPA are as fast as possible, sometimes from 3 to 20 times faster, depending on the platform that we're comparing, because it's like pure Python to run. And then there's about technology lock-in, as I told before, and pricing model. So the point here is like, obviously, I have a bias because Bot City, but regardless, Bot City, choosing a multi-vendor architecture is a smart move for any company, so you can have explore new possibilities. Uh, One case that I want to talk about is like Oncoclinic. So Oncoclinic is the largest oncology group in Latin America. They have both. They have Bot City and Automation Anywhere. So they reduced by half the number of Automation Anywhere licenses they have, and they have like Bot City. So they could save money. They could still save money adopting two platforms. And Bot City platforms and Python bots are 8 times faster, and they have 80% saving on licensing. They got faster recruitment, better retention for new professionals, and they reduced the learning curve from 1 month to 2 weeks. So it's possible. And sometimes you have both platforms, and sometimes you make a full movement for a migration. Just like Andrade Gutierrez is a multinational construction engineering company who migrate. Now they migrate 100 automations. They just completed 100,000 hours saved in the company, and they migrate everything from blueprints to Python RPA. They could migrate plus 40 automations within the first 60 days, and now they have a central COE operation, a center of excellence built on top of Bot City. And just to really a quick overview and go to the some questions that you can have is like talking really fast about Bot City for someone that never heard before. We have a complete stack for automation. So we have everything from building, from like open source frameworks. You can use any framework on Python, more than 450,000 libraries that you can use, but we have our own frameworks, and Bot City will have their plugins as well to speed up development. So the same way you know connectors in low-code platforms, we have code snippets for like Microsoft 365, Office Captcha, HashiCorp, and lots of plugins to help developers as well. And then we have a Bot City Studio, so scenarios when you need to build computer vision automation or Windows selectors automations using our code. So we have different approach to build automations on any kind of system. What kind of systems that you can automate with Bot City? We talk about SAP automation, Oracle, Citrix, legacy systems, web applications. So we really create a suite of developer tools that allow you to build automations on any case and any scenarios. So I have customers running automations on SAP for like 3 to 4 years with no problems and scaling this kind of automations. And at the same time, we provide the best state of art of governance with Bot City Maestro, our cloud-based orchestrator, compatible with any kind of code-based automations, with everything that you need from task alerts, monitor status, insights. You can send alerts for business users. You can automatically error report. You can have the full load balancing from your automations. So really a state-of-art orchestrator that can help you give a better governance and control for your automation, hyper-automation project within your company. So feel free to try at Bot City. You can go to botcity.dev, create a free account of that. So there's a platform, got some prizes from last year as a best support, highest user adoption. And that's it, what I want to show you about software selection. So the main message here is think about have a multi-vendor architecture. Could be with Bot City, it can be with other platforms, but this is a smart move. Okay, so let's go to some discussions now. I'm going to invite the Dragon and Roberto back to the stage.
We're back.
Okay, good. So let me get here some questions. Just a sec. Okay, one question that I have for both of you. I got here. How long can a hyper automation project last? I know that's a big depend, but if you can share some insights, that would be great.
Dragon, please, you can start.
Should I start? Okay. So for us, again, if we're talking about a company, let's say we have two types of these projects. So one would be, let's say, a company that has everything that we talked about, which is all of the, let's say, prerequisites. So good track of their processes, of the architecture of the systems and everything. So depending on that, these projects can last from like 3 to 6 months, depending on the number of processes and their complexity. If we're talking about companies that would like to start with that journey and don't know where and how, usually like it's up to a year, let's say, where we want to properly set up the whole system in order for them to introduce hyper automation then and achieve their goals. So it really depends on the company's view. um, but it's always good to look at automation on the long term, because let's say automation is here to stay. It will be a part of every company. It will be, I believe, even for some cases, mandatory. So definitely that's something that's coming, and so it's just a matter of how companies want to approach it. And I think because it's here to stay, it's better to have a good strategic approach.
Good. Yeah. Roberto, do you want to comment?
Yeah. Just want to add also the technical part, the architecture, and the quality and volume of data. So Dragon's absolutely right. I mean, we do implemented some hyper automation. I mean, in 3 months period, but the company was ready. Like was ready. Was automated culture. Everyone knew what I was talking about. There were no necessary previous training. But yes, once we are talking about the full long term process, yeah, it takes some time, and it's really wise also to start small. Okay, like okay, let's try one automation. At this point, you won't probably achieve the expected ROI, but it will come at scale. So try to start small and then work your way up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Sometimes some companies try to build a huge program, and there are so many obstacles that you need to start small.
Mhm.
Quick wins are the best way to make a product grow, right? So,
Yes.
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
I couldn't agree more with that. Yes, and then one another question that I have: how do you think generative AI is going to impact this process? We talk about hyper automation,
Mm.
about RPA, but what now?
Roberto, do you want to go first now, or?
Yes. So I think from my point of view, I mean, we don't have, we have the examples from, just drop to generative AIs, but when we go down to our daily activities, I see like two different ways they will impact. The first one, it will be like, okay, it will be a part of your hyper automation. You will have a solution that you're going to run through your technologies, and connect your generative AI at some point, and you will generate the expected result. Probably faster, probably with more quality, more speed, but that's one way. And the other one that I see is like the complete disruption of businesses and processes. Like you're gonna have a solution, some like so advanced and intelligence that you're gonna internalize into your company, and that's it. Like that's gonna work the full process and the full package. And we often see that, especially nowadays in customer experience or customer contact centers. Some of those are already running by themselves. There are no human interactions at all. There are no barriers for language. There are no barriers for technology. There are nothing. It's just run for itself. So in my point of view, that's gonna. I don't know exactly the costs behind the ones that you connect and the other ones. I mean, I think that it's still too expensive, but that's no way back. It's here to stay. I don't know, Dragon, if you have any other comments.
Similar to what you were saying. At least at the moment where I saw Gen AI being used in automation was exactly about this customer experience, and maybe also like this internal easier access to certain information through these chatbots, and maybe some predictive analysis. So again, for some prompts, getting the some forecasts and results that you need quickly. But I would like to also return to the part that you said, the disruption of the whole system. So one topic that hasn't opened still, when we are talking about AI, is like the regulations. So, and I think that one is a big one, and it is coming, because now there were already some cases where people were putting some company data into, let's say, ChatGPT or somewhere, because it's so user friendly, let's say, you forget about the risks, and it kind of lures you, to work more and more and share more and more, but it will lead to some problems. So yeah, I definitely see that part of being one of the key, let's say, obstacles to actually properly set up Gen AI into companies. Then I think, of course, I'm totally for it, let's say. So I think, but again, like with proper setup of that system, that then will start actually helping people within their core processes as well. But at the moment, I see it more as a initial information or marketing, like some ideas, brainstorming, as that type of, let's say, help at the moment.
Yes.
How about you,
Yes.
Lohan?
Yeah, I think not just talking about hyper automation, but about the Gen AI itself. We are like, we're at the point like we looks like the internet in 1994. We all know the potential, but we're still beginning. Like, I think that the promise is like something that could have the same impact as like the iPhone launch, for instance. Like the iPhone launch was something that empowered to have apps, and then apps, we have everything. You get a car, you get your food, you get everything because there was this infrastructure. But is so we have a full potential for the future, but it's still at the beginning. When you talk about technology and tools regarding hyper automation, obviously this is impacting because with the advancement of generative AI, something low code platforms can need to behave differently. At the same time, you can have more speed up development in Python using different solutions. We still have the same issue that Dragon mentioned about security and about this code is running where and things like that. So that's about the regulation that we need to focus. So I think it's you have a full potential, huge impact, but we're still discovering where to put our foots in. Like there's a lot of new technology boarding now, so that's a good time to see what's going to happen. And we are sure we're doing some PhD on that on Bot City side. So that's something that can get a real impact on us, but the 2024. So I think that's it.
Yep.
And I got one question that's interesting, because this question the person asking, because Dragon talk about the challenge of demonstrate the potential of implementing these tools to the stakeholders. The question is like, can you please share about your experience in persuasion and how you successfully secured the necessary funding for this process in the company? This is a really good question, because sometimes it's really tough to show everything before. So what is your tips on this topic?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Usually when companies let's say, are not too familiar with technology, but they would like to start with, automation. They've heard about it. They know that there are some potential savings there. I don't know. I mean, usually based on our experience, we're able to list out some of the problems that they are encountering within their company, and we would use that approach, like talking what is, generally happening in that type of industry, like in banking or logistics or insurance, whatever. And we would say what we encountered, how we solve it. And that kind of gave these companies, confidence that we are able to, let's say, provide and do some benefits and achieve something in their company as well. That is why I said also this part of upskilling and education is also really important. And we also sometimes offer maybe some trainings, some workshops first to kind of introduce, briefly people to that technology and show them. And that kind of gives us the buy-in for companies to start with automation. So that is definitely what we try to do. Also, if again, like I said, if companies at least have a good track and monitoring of their processes, we're able to get the data about processes pretty quickly, and then we're able to give them some form of business case. Run a quick analysis of the processes, see where it makes sense to automate it, and give some estimations. So let's say those would be some examples.
Good. Do you want to comment on that, Roberto?
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. We also have something that we call Bot Day in Grupo Viseu, which is kind of a workshop where we kind of break the barriers and the paradigms around adopting hyperautomation. So that's really good, and we customize that depending on the client that we go. The other one that I would mention is also make it less technical as possible. Try to visualize, in images and videos, and try to make the hyperautomation, visualizing, and then you go to the background and go to programming and go to that, because sometimes the senior management and directors, and then they can't materialize what actually they are doing. And the other one, the last one, that's some of the things that clients always question us is, okay, but we've been doing that for so long, we know what we do, and all that speech, and once you go with a very technical and process team to implement, and you actually challenge what they're doing in a good way, of course, that sometimes spark and say, oh, really? You just brought me some so spot on cases that I'm actually thinking that this is going to work. So that's, from our opinion, that's something that we usually do.
That's great. I think one thing that I can add on that, and I'm sharing here. Meanwhile, we talk about our contents. Can you see?
Not yet. It's loading.
Yeah, it's still loading. Yeah.
Okay. So meanwhile, if you want to contact us, this QR code is to connect us on LinkedIn. So feel free to connect with us, reach us out to talk about new projects, initiatives, or any questions about hyperautomation. And then one take about this question about secure funding. I think sometimes I think the narrative about replacing people is over for a long time already. So, but one thing that I think it's barely explored yet is about the amount of human errors during processes. So some automation can save a lot of money because of errors in the process. So we have plenty of cases here in Bot City from errors in fulfilling spreadsheets, or cases that sometimes people forgot to send the bill over for a new customer, or things about like that. So when you automate this kind, sometimes you have a really bot that the bot really gives money to the company, like real time, like because so you need to find this opportunities as well. And one thing that I think can really move like some high level management within companies are something if they see their competitors investing on that as well. So if you want to secure funding in your company, look to your competitors, because as hyper automation is really spread right now, there's a big chance that your competitors investing a ton of money on that. So you can show your management team, say, here, our competitor is moving, and how about us? This can be something that can really help on the long run.
And just to add to what you were saying, so we actually had some projects that where companies was focused only on these non-financial benefits. Like, so sometimes, as you said, like for companies important to keep their process errorless, or it's really important for them to utilize their employees, so make sure that they're working on the things that provide greater value to the company instead of doing some manual administration. And that was sometimes where there was no business case in terms of finance, or it was really low, like this return on investment, but companies decided to move forward with the automation just because of the allocation of their resources towards something that, as you said, can make money in real time, like focusing people more on, I don't know, sales or their core business. And also, as you said, preventing these errors that sometimes also impact your reputation or some fees or something that can happen if you don't do it the right way. So definitely there are these business benefits that are, I at least think, equally important as financial ones.
Totally agree with you, and I think we always need the one first process, right? Because when people see running, you unlock lots of possibilities, and sometimes when companies ask me, because we always need to check and to be sure with companies they understand we are not replacing people. So and one way that I saw some different cases is like people start automating processes that are really qualified, but they start with one process that people hate to execute manually.
Yes.
And this is super powerful because it's not just like it's not just a repetitive process. It's like people don't like to execute it all. When people see this automated, they understand, say, "Oh, I have time now to work on better stuff," and this unlocks a lot of possibility. So this is something that I think it's a good strategy as well to secure, because sometimes you're gonna have a small funding for a first project, and then you make it successful, you unlock more funding. And then it's like from funding to funding, you can expand projects. Mainly when we're saying the center of excellence, this is kind of the way the things work. So I think you guys provide lots of tips that's really powerful to make that happen.
Yes, yeah, and you don't even need to advertise. Like if you got that one project in place, and the other people in other department, you start seeing, oh look, you had that analyst that he's actually like not typing anything anymore. He's not doing any calculation. He's just like analyzing and giving back, the important work for the company. The information just run for itself. Like like back in school, they're, oh my God, what are you doing differently? So yes, so that's a good way for securing your funding. Starting small, secure that one, and then it will grow by itself.
Good. That were really powerful tips. So, Roberto, Dragan, we are coming to the end of the session. So, I really appreciate your time. Really, thank you for being here, sharing these powerful insights. For anyone watching us, here's the QR code. Feel free to connect with them. Talk to us if you have any questions. Reach us out on LinkedIn, email, or mobile. So. Dragan, Roberto, any last comments, some message that you want to give to everyone who's watching us?
So for me, I would keep it simple, which is, again, my message was for people to watch, and look at their processes first before introducing any technologies. But I think we also to not overcomplicate certain things in terms of, as you talked about, the choice of the tool or something. There are plenty of tools. I think if you streamline the processes, have a good approach, a good setup, then the tools will come naturally, and you will start to achieve savings and benefits for your company.
Good. Roberto.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with Dragon. I'll have just 2 comments at the end. Yes, be simple and understand what are your expected results. Like, know how to measure your success. Because success doesn't mean perfection. Automation doesn't mean 0 errors, right? So just work on that information, and then just understand that the most innovative and expensive and at the market right now, technology doesn't necessarily is the sustainable one. So try to be sustainable with your hyperautomation, and you will be successful. I'm pretty sure.
That's good. I could agree more with you too. And then my take here from my last comment is like, don't be passionate for a single tool. Like, as you have so many opportunities. So think about adopting technologies and tools, thinking about use cases, and look what tools. The best tool is the tool that really applies to a use case. So you can have more than one. You can look at different options. So, but the goal at the end of the day is really to help you scale this hyper automation and make our company more efficient. By the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, right? So on my take, this is it. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you to everyone that is watching us. So feel free to watch our other events that we have on YouTube and next webinars that are going to have on this team. Thank you, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys, and
Bye.
Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Lahan. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Dragon. Thank you, Lahan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.